Hi everybody, this is Oksana. Today I'm going to show you how to make this bracelet. It could also be a necklace if you wanted, with like this little pendant hanging on a necklace, or if you make it shorter, it could be a little bracelet. So if you want to see how to make this, just keep watching. So I have some 20 gauge round copper wire here from riogrande.com. And I have one piece. Let me measure it for you. This is probably way too long. I think I just accidentally cut it really long. How long is this? 13 inches. So yeah, probably could be shorter, but that's okay. My stone is a little hematite teardrop. That's just a little bit over an inch, about 30 millimeters. Maybe like 29 actually. So what we're gonna do with this piece of round wire is we're going to find the middle of it by kind of bringing the two ends together, folding it essentially in half. Then I'm going to grab my pliers and I'm going to make a sharp bend, and I'm just going to bring that wire completely together there, just like that. And then I'm going to hold it there with my pliers, and I'm gonna bring it around, and basically it's gonna form like a heart shape there. Okay, so you might have to like mess around with it a little bit, but basically you want to form a heart, and you want to just hold your stone to make sure that your stone fits on it. So here on the bottom of my heart, where the wires come together, I'm going to put a bend in them both to try to get them to be side by side instead of crisscrossing each other. So, like that. And what you want to do now is you want to hammer the wire. This is an iron block and a chasing hammer, and I can't do it in the air like this, but you just want to hammer it like that. I'm just going to do that off camera, and that'll make it stronger. So after you've hammered it, it'll be a little flatter looking, and it reinforces the wire so it doesn't bend as easily. So what you want to do now is you want to connect your heart. You want to connect this portion of it, and you could use round wire for this and do a little weaving pattern, which is what I'm going to do, or you can use some half round wire to just make little wraps. So I have some 26 gauge round wire here, which is nice and thin, perfect for weaving. So what I'm going to do for my little weaving pattern is I'm just putting the wire through both of these right in the middle, and then I'm just going up and around, oops, sorry, got blurry there for a minute, around the top wire, and then down across both, and then around the bottom wire. And I'll link the video for this weaving pattern that goes really nice and slow and explains it in depth if you've never done it before. So otherwise, if you already know this weaving pattern, then you can just keep going for a little bit. So I'm just going to finish up off camera, and then I'll show you roughly how long you need. All right, so I've done one wrap around the top wire, and then I'm just going to bring it towards myself and trim it. So there's a little wire end there, so that when we press the wire end down, it's going to be here, facing me. So this will be the front, and same here. Trim off your little tail end so that it is here on the front. So what we're gonna do now, oh actually let me measure this. How long did this work out to be? It doesn't have to be like exactly like this, but you should make it kind of longish. So this is about not quite 15, a little bit longer than 15 millimeters, like 17 millimeters, or if you measure it in inches, a little bit, oh, like it's like 3/4 of an inch basically. So I'm just gonna hold it here where it begins. I'm just gonna fold it forward like this. All right, so now we can grab our stone, but actually before we put the stone in, what I want to do is I want these wires to go through the heart. So before we bend it too much, I'm just gonna push them through there. There we go. So now we're gonna put the stone basically in this little cradle that we've created down on the bottom here. And it'll be slippery and it'll kind of move back and forth on you, but you just want to bend this forward onto your stone. And mine got a little bit crooked there, so I'm just gonna fix that up. All right. So if you're holding it like this, you want it to be centered. So you want to just carefully take these wires one at a time on each side of your stone and just move them just a little at a time. Till they're nice and tight. And so the stone will still move a little bit. That's okay. We're gonna finally lock it in place when we do the top portion there. Sorry, I have like tape on my hands. So then we're gonna move this wire up and press on that. And same thing on this side. We're gonna move it up and press on that. And then we're going to have this wire go across and down on one side of the point that's on the top of our teardrop, and then this one is going to be on the other side. Here's what that looks like. What you want to do now is, if your wires are long like mine, you want to trim them a little bit shorter. It'll just be easier to work with. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take each wire and we're going to work it through from back to front through the heart. Make sure it stays on this side of the heart though. And I'm just kind of working that up like that. And same with this. It's just easier to do if they're a little shorter rather than if they're super long. Like that. So now we just have to trim those little ends. So to trim them, I'm gonna cut it short, but just by looking at it, you want it to be just long enough to where if I continue curving that wire, so it's like wrapping, continues to wrap around, it kind of goes inside, so the little wire end isn't pointing towards the back anymore. It's kind of pointing towards the front, but so you won't feel it from the back, but because it's so short, you won't feel it from the front either. It's just kind of like on the edge there. So here's what that looks like. And it actually looks pretty cute from the back too, I think. So what is left to do here is to make a chain for our bracelet. So this will be the focal point. And what I'm doing for the chain, I am using square wire, but the only reason I'm using it is because I pulled out a bunch of scrap pieces of wire, just like that I was gonna throw away. So it is 1 1/4 inches, or about, ooh, it fell down. Or in millimeters, it's about 32 millimeters. And this can definitely be round wire. I just like to use little ends, like little scrap pieces of wire. They're really useful for that, so you don't have to throw them out. So feel free to use round wire as well. It could be 20 gauge wire. or it could be thicker 18 gauge as well. And then to make your little link, I'm going to use the 3rd size here on my bail making pliers. I have all my tools linked below the video. And then I'm going to use the other, using the same one, I'm just bending it in the other direction. So this is like the most basic little chain link that you can make that looks like a figure 8. And it's easy to do with your little scrap wires. It's not like the best chain link because it can open up. I definitely recommend hammering it for strength, so I am going to hammer this. Another chain link you can make involves putting a little bead in the middle and the wire wraps around. I'll link my tutorial on that one below, and that one's going to be a little stronger but just a little bit more tedious to make. I didn't want this to be like a super long tutorial, so I'm just using the quickest, easiest little link here. Or you can use a chain, like if you already have a pre-made chain, or if you have some jump rings, you can use that to make a chain. So I'm just going to go ahead and hammer this real quick. So after you hammer it, it becomes really flat looking. And what you want to do is you just want to connect them together. So you want to put one link through the other, and then you want to make sure that there's no gap or they're going to come open. They are stronger now that they've been hammered. Definitely want to hammer them well so they're nice and flat looking. And then you just want to attach this little hook to one side of our centerpiece here for our bracelet. And then we're just gonna close that up. Sorry, I was holding that funny. So we're just gonna close that up and try to have it touch as much as possible so there's no gap. There we go. So our bracelet is connected on one side. And now we just have to make a little clasp so that we can attach it. So let me count the links for you in case you're wondering, and I'll measure my bracelet. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I have 13 links plus the clasp that I'm gonna make, and then I'll measure how long it ended up being. Everyone has different wrists, so you might need to add a few more links to yours or maybe less links. So for my clasp, I am gonna use the round wire. I'm just trying to stick with round wire because I want people to be able to make this using all round wire. I just had to make my links out of square because that was my scrap. So about 4 inches here. We're gonna trim it down so it's not going to be that big, but you want to fold it just roughly in half. And I'm just going to press down on that. Then you're going to take your round nose pliers and just the very tip of that, you're going to curve that upwards. And then you're going to go a little bit away from the tip and you're going to curve that around. So here's what you got, this little hook. Actually want the hook to be pretty closed so it stays tight. And this part here, after the hook, so just grab with your, actually I'm just gonna use, because the round nose pliers, they get thinner, they're not like an equal size, so I'm just gonna grab with my bail making pliers. Just think it makes it easier. Shape. So I'm just trying to make a nice little circle there. Gonna push that back together. And then we're gonna grab our bracelet. We're just gonna slide that on. And now we're gonna close up this little loop here. So it's not like the strongest little clasp, but it's worked fairly well for me in the past. If you have another one that you like to use, or maybe a pre-made one that you have, feel free to do that. So here it is attached to my chain. So if we take our bracelet here, let me zoom out. This is going to be really hard. Closing bracelets one-handed is always very tricky. There we go. So I was able to close that. So here we have the little heart bracelet. I know it's a little wobbly because my wrist is really small, so this is really loose on me. But here, I'll just like slide it down my arm to show you how it would look if it was tighter. So I think it would look really nice. And I know that you can't really see the full heart from the front, but I think it's a cute little shape. So that's it, and let me just measure the bracelet for you, how long it is, or how long it ended up being. So if I start measuring from the top of the heart here, and I measure all the way down to the bottom of the hook, it's 7.5 inches. So it's 7.5 inches long is how long that ended up being. So let me just close up that clasp. And another fun thing you could do with this is you can make it a necklace where, you know, if you make a really long chain or you use a pre-made chain that you attach to both sides, this would be a fun little necklace as well. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.